I am not a fan of the plea bargain. I'm just not a fan of the plea deal. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it for the prosecutors. I hate it for the defendants. I hate it. And yet it's what our justice system, the legal side of it anyway, is based on. And here we have a woman who stabbed to death her boyfriend, a boyfriend that she had been accused of DV in the recent past, before, just like recently before it happened. She was accused of DV. She was the instigator. She was the violent one in the relationship. And her boyfriend, where they have this tumultuous relationship, is found dead, having been stabbed in the chest. And this person, the defendant, claims that in some, like, I don't know, Magnificent Seven or James Bond kind of thing, she threw a knife at him, acting in self-defense, she says, and it just goes and just perfectly hits him right in the heart where he drops dead. And then self-defense, Yana. And then after what, 4 years of going through this whole, court process, it finally lands at a plea bargain, and it just leaves me livid, asking the question, how is this justice? How is this justice for Toby, her victim? How is this justice for Toby's family? I, I, I just, in moments like this, sometimes I get speechless, which is really inconvenient for a guy who makes a living with his speechification. But anyway, we are going to get into the case of Courtney Clenney today. We are going to just do a quick backgrounder on it, in case I saw in the live chat that Becky has not heard a thing about this case, which isn't it so funny that we think that because we're in a bubble that everybody else is inside that same bubble? No, there's so many cases to follow. And yeah, so Becky, I'm going to tell you about the whole thing. And then we've got some video clips from a hearing today where she changed her mind. She plea bargained. She got a different charge than murder too that she had been charged with. This is her victim, by the way, right here. Oh my goodness. I should say, for those of you watching, for those of you who are listening, this is a picture of Courtney looking her best, and Christian Toby Obumseli, her live-in boyfriend, on again, off again, kinda. These two were living a life that on the internet looked like it was just absolutely fabulous. We got two really good-looking people. One of them makes her living big money, by the way, guys. About $2 million over 2 years. I've actually heard reports of up to $3 million over 2 years, but at least $2 million over the previous 2 years before Toby was killed. Living the life of Riley, man. They're so happy. They're all smiles and they're all just picture perfect and everything. But behind it all, it was not good at all. Not good. So we're going to get into that. We have plenty to talk about. We'll get into the background of the case, like I was saying. We'll watch a couple of clips of the courtroom hearing today. I've got the actual, like, plea of guilty. I've got a clip of the family reading an impact statement, and then I've got a brief press conference that they held afterwards. By the way, our buddy Joel Waldman over at Surviving the Survivor was in court today there in Miami. He gave an excellent report directly after it on his channel. Go over to Surviving the Survivor, check that out. And I think that he's even got his video up on his Patreon. So check out Joel. But after we do that, we'll get into 3 questions. We've got some headlines. We got some updates in the Sandra Birchmore case, the Amy Hilliard missing persons case, a little bit about the Alex Murdaugh prosecution. Then we've got some really good news. So, guys, we got like 10 pounds of content to put into a 5-pound show. But before, Javi, you were ready to push that button, weren't you? Javi was ready to push the button. It was my fault. I kind of led you on there. Let's start with the question of the day to kind of get things rolling. Guys, what's one thing you're always curious about? Like today, I was doom scrolling on TikTok and there was this cool video about how do we know that it was an asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs? And anytime somebody brings up dinosaur, I'm in. So, what is one thing that you're always curious about? Definitely put that in the live chat or in the comments if you are in the rewatch crew or for your listening through a podcast. Definitely do that. And now, Javi, it's time to do the opening credits. Go ahead and roll those credits, please. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with yours truly. My name is Gavin Fish. Call me Gavin. Everybody does. I don't like being called Mr. Fish. I don't like being called His Highness Gavin Fish or Dr. Fish. I used to have, when I was a teenager, I worked at Susie's Casuals, first as a stock boy, and then later on, I was promoted to a sales associate. And on my tag, I put Dr. Love. I thought it was so funny. I still think it's funny. I'm 50 years old, and I'm thinking back to when I was 15 years old, thinking how funny I thought that was. Well, there was a shopper in Susie's Casuals in the Sunrise Mall that did not think that was funny at all. Boy, did I get reprimanded. I thought that I was going to, I don't know, get a whooping or something. I don't know. But alas, it blew over. Everything was fine. I kept my job, but my name tag then had to just say Gavin Fish. From then on out, nobody's called me doctor. It is just Gavin. So please call me that. Guys, what are we talking about today? We are talking about the case of Courtney Clenney, the OnlyFans model. Now, I've chosen in my visuals to not show the OnlyFans like promo stuff that she was putting out all over social media. Yes, attractive young woman. Willing to get all the attention that she wanted. And yes, people were willing to pay big money for it. Instead, I've chosen to just show her as she is now. A jailbird in an orange jumpsuit with frizzy hair and no makeup, awaiting, well, she'll be in prison for precious little time, let's say. And we'll get into that. She has just pleaded guilty to killing her boyfriend, Toby. Man, I always have to. I come so close. Obumseli. I came so close. His name is Christian Obumseli. He goes by Toby. He went by Toby, and he is dead. He has been taken from the earth, and according to her plea deal today, he was taken from the earth by her. She killed him. We don't have to say any allegedlys or anything. What we cannot say is that she is guilty of murder because she was not found guilty of murder. She was found guilty of manslaughter, which is just the rub. It's the rub. So let me tell you about the background here, just on these two kids, okay? From what I can tell, in late 2020, these two kids start dating. The relationship from the very beginning was described as turbulent, with DV incidents going both ways. Now, let's pause for a moment. I've put on my Uncle Gavin glasses. Let's just pause for a moment. And kids, listen, I don't know how to say this. Let's get my actual Uncle Gavin glasses on here.
Hi, kids. Uncle Gavin here.
Okay, kids, listen. If you love someone deeply, but your relationship is fighting, your relationship is arguing, your relationship is just, it's not happy most of the time. Everybody will disagree, right? Everybody will disagree, but if you're fighting, I don't care how much you love each other, go your separate ways. And I think there were a lot of incentives working on these kids, right? I mean, they're both attractive young guys and young guy and gal. They were living the high life. You see pictures of them driving Ferraris, and like they were kind of in a swanky high rise in Miami. But kiddos, when you love somebody very much but don't like that person, love is not enough. Go away from one another. Run in opposite directions from one another. I know it's easier said than done. And it's not like I'm talking from experience here. I have no empathy, only sympathy for those of you who are in relationships where you just really love each other deeply, but one or both of you are showing up with bruises or with lacerations or with, suspicious hand and finger marks about the neck. Look, you gotta go. Yeah, and this has been brought to you by Uncle Gavin. Okay, so this was a turbulent relationship. As I take off my Uncle Gavin glasses and put on strangely similar Uncle Gavin glasses, turbulent from the very beginning. Now, when we get to July of 2021, the next year, they're in Vegas, and Courtney Clenney is arrested for DV, for battery against Obumseli, against Toby here. And, I mean, I don't know. I think there's maybe some shame. Like I'm coming at it from the man's point of view. Maybe there's a little shame in it, as a man. Statistically speaking, males of the species are like 40 to 50% larger than the female of the species, and typically about 200% stronger. So, from the male perspective, I would imagine if you are getting beat upon by your female sweetie pie, I imagine there's a little bit of shame there, but it's okay, man. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Run away. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's turbulent. There's DV on both sides. They're constantly bickering. This thing happens in Vegas, and then inexplicably, in January of 2022, this couple moves in together at one Paraíso. I bet in Miami, Paraíso, they probably say Paraiso, or I don't know. It's in Miami's Edgewater neighborhood. Apparently, it's kind of a swanky place, according to what Joel was saying in his report today. And then it's not very long after that building staff are like, dude, there are disturbances going on between these two lovebirds. Our other tenants are having issues. And eventually it gets to the point where management's like working on an eviction. Now, when we move to like late March, the couple separates briefly. Clenney's mom comes to visit, and he leaves while she's there. Apparently that was late March, right? But April 1st, he returns to the apartment, and they rekindle their little violent romance. And a couple of days later, so it was April 1st that he moved back in. April 3rd, Toby goes to grab some sandwiches at Subway. He returns at 4:32 p.m., and apparently he was stabbed shortly thereafter. Security calls 911 about a disturbance at 4:46. So it's been 14 minutes. Clenney calls 911 at 4:57 saying that Obumseli has been stabbed. I don't know. He just been stabbed. I don't know. So the case initially was like, oh, is this a self-defense thing? I mean, these two kids had a turbulent, tumultuous relationship. And Clenney was like, yeah, I was like in fear of my life. And so I grabbed a knife. I have a picture of the knife. Here we go. I grabbed the knife and I threw it at him, as one does in self-defense, throwing a knife at someone. But that knife penetrated 3 inches into his chest. I mean, you would have to be some kind of like James Bond villain. Like, the amount, I mean, look at her. She was like, she was, how do I put, I don't know what her size and weight is. Joel said she's probably like 5'10", 5'11". She's a tall person. But come on, right? I'm like, here is what she looked like that day. This is an actual crime scene photo. When police got there, she did not have the like little kimono style, what do you call that, robe on. She's wearing like a sports bra, like a workout bra, and sweats on the bottom, and she's covered in blood. Her sweats are drenched in blood. She's got her fake eyelashes all like squeezed together, like she's been crying. Anyway, she says that she throws this knife in self-defense to try to protect herself. And prosecutors, of course, are like, I ain't buying it, because the medical evidence and the broader relationship evidence tells us that maybe you're a little murdery. You're just a tad on the murder side, just a little murdery. So they, and I'm not making light of this, right? This is like horrific. Show you a couple more scenes here. I mean, there's blood everywhere. The body cam footage of the police is available online if you guys want to check that out. We don't really need to get into this. But the other thing that I'm seeing here is like, this place is a sty, man. Like, I fancy myself a messy person, but this is a messy place. And it's super high end. Like, they've got waterfall granite in their kitchen and stuff. You know, it's like a nice place. Very trendy, very upscale, but it's kind of a mess. And of course, now in these pictures, there's just blood everywhere, and of course, blood on Courtney herself. Okay. In August, Clenney still hasn't been arrested. Okay, she's like, it was treated as a self-defense issue, and prosecutors are investigating and everything, but she's still free. And traveling around. I guess she's in Hawaii, but prosecutors catch up to her there. She's arrested in Hawaii. She's charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. And she gets extradited back to the state of Florida. Later that year in October, prosecutors released the 911 audio, the body cam material. You can go and check that out. Of course, the 911 call becomes central because Toby can be heard in the background, like wounded, while Clenney is apologizing to him and is calling for help. Okay. In December of 2022, she's ordered to be held in jail while awaiting trial, citing their concerns that she might flee. And then in another twist, her parents are charged in a separate computer crimes case. Apparently, they accessed Toby's laptop, and that was obviously it had the appearance of trying to cover up key evidence, right? Okay, let's see. June and July of 2024, the judge tosses key evidence in that computer case over attorney-client privilege concerns. Prosecutors dropped the charges against Clenney and her parents for that. Murder case continues, but they're squabbling. The two sides squabble over everything, including the laptop in this whole pretrial mess. And then today, this very day, Monday, August 10th, year of our Lord 2026, instead of going to trial on a second-degree murder, Clenney pleads guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon. Now, here is the rub, okay? Here is the rub. You ready? This is going to make you pissed. She, at this point, has been in jail for 4 years, awaiting trial, as they're fighting over this, right? She probably still has some of that money, though they're young and probably stupid. Maybe they spent a lot of it, but she still has plenty of money. That's probably what contributed to the whole flight risk thing. She had means to leave. But in maybe the sweetheartiest of sweetheart deals I've ever heard, in a plea bargain between Clenney's side and the prosecution, in a deal that Toby's family fully signs off on, she is sentenced to 6 years in prison with credit for 4 years of time already served. She will be in prison. I think she's been in county jail ever since, this whole thing, ever since her arrest. But she'll be going to a state prison for 2 years. And guys, I think a state prison is probably Shangri-La compared to some of these county jails. So she's actually, in my estimation, she's upgrading her lifestyle where she'll, hang out and, for a couple years before she is released. And then she will have 5 years of probation after that. If she violates her probation, the court said she can face up to 30 years. Now there was also, okay, talk about like the longest background ever, but that is the background of the case, okay? That is the background of the case before we get into the videos. But let me come over to what you guys are saying over in the live chat, Aru, see what you guys did in terms of the question of the day. Let's see if we can get this up on the screen here. Marie says, thank you for the super chat. Marie says, I don't consider it justice. The defense attorney disagreeing about his client being blocked, making money off her story. Yeah, let me just talk about this for a second, okay? What is the name of that law? Hold on. I have to think about it. Florida has a statute. I can't remember the name of the law. The Son of Sam law is how it's known. And different states have different laws, but basically the deal is you're not allowed to make money off of your story as a convicted offender. And so the prosecution brought that up in the hearing, like, we want anything that she makes to go to Obumseli's family. And the defense attorney's like, we feel like this law is completely unconstitutional. We will argue that at a different time, but let it be on the record that we disagree. And you can't just take away her ability to earn a living for the rest of her life. Here's the thing, though, is that for the rest of her life, she is the murderer. No, Gavin. I need a wah-wah. Wanda, can you give me Can you give me a wah wah? I know that Wanda. Where Wanda? There we go. Thank you, Wanda. No, she is not the murderess of Toby Obumseli. She is the killer of Christian Toby Obumseli. But she will always be known as that. And so if she comes out of prison and decides, I will go back to doing OnlyFans, well, there will be sickos all over the world that are like, yeah, I'll give you $4.99 a month or whatever, $49.99 a month, to the killer model, right? The model murderer, whatever kitschy phrase that they're using for this. So yeah, I'm with you, Marie. It is crazy. We shall see. Mary says, I dislike this plea also. Outrage and shock by everyone, Clarinet Girl says. Clarinet Girl says she made $1 million in 2021. Yeah, I'd heard, and then 2022 is like 1.9 or something. Yeah, it's crazy. Fire Rabbit says, I'm always curious about how kids always know when you're trying to hide food. Every time I'm trying to sneak a snack, here comes my son running to get some. That is the best answer to a question of the day I've heard in a long time. Yeah, they've got this little spidey sense. They can hear the like the ungluing of boxes or the crackling of bags. They've just got this ability to know. I'm curious about that as well. Marie says, I'm always curious about what else is out in the universe. I just can't believe we're the only civilized planet. I'm with you. I think I think it would I think it would be impossible for us to be the only planet that has intelligent life in the universe. We don't even know the size of the universe. We only theorize that it's expanding, right? But we have no idea. It's crazy. Clarinet Girl says, I'm curious about people on Earth defending their encounters with aliens and spaceships. Oh, so we've got so many. Let's see. Elizabeth McMasters, a new mod, by the way. Thank you, Elizabeth, for modding, for being here. I'm still curious about that magic bullet theory in the JFK assassination. I can't remember the magic bullet theory. I remember the grassy knoll theory. But yeah, the JFK assassination. The thing that's suspicious about that is just that Oswald was assassinated after the fact, which to me just screams that others were involved, right? Yeah, crazy. Oh, Mooney, I like this one. In my opinion, there's nothing real about Courtney. She is held together with plastic gobs of makeup and a black heart and soul. I wonder what it feels. I don't want to know. I don't really actually want to know. But what does it feel like to be her parents? Right? Like, first off, I wouldn't be all that happy if my daughter was making money on OnlyFans. That wouldn't make me delighted. I wouldn't be like, so did you hear about Courtney? Yeah, she's got 1 million followers on OnlyFans or however they do it. Right? That's yeah, I don't know. And then she killed someone and she's saying she killed him. She's saying that she slaughtered him. And that's our daughter. Oh, our sweet baby girl. The thing is, and I know that this isn't equivalent. This is a false equivalence, but there are just very few ways to directly draw an equivalence. I had a classmate from school, junior high and high school, who the last time I saw him was living on the street, and he recognized me. I didn't even recognize him. He called me over. We had a conversation. It wasn't too long after that he died of an overdose. I know his parents because while he and I were roughly the same age, I was closer with his sister than with him. I didn't like him all that much. And I mean, that last conversation we had was actually a nice conversation. I enjoyed it a lot. But I was more close to her sister, so I know his parents. And what his mom said was that he was a sweet boy who lost his way. That was her brief eulogy. He was a sweet boy who lost his way. And I wonder what parents would say about Courtney Clenney. Was she a sweet little girl? She probably was. She's probably adorable. She's probably all feisty and doing all the things that make parents happy and uh, hopeful and stuff like that. And here they are now in a Miami courtroom watching her plead guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon. I don't want to know what that feels like, but goodness sakes, it's got to be tough. Yeah, Clarinet Girl says Toby predicted that Courtney would unalive him. She nor her family has ever apologized. That is true. At the same time, like if I can play devil's advocate here, and we're going to get into the press conference they did, but if she were to apologize, well, now that she's guilty of it, I don't think I have a very good devil's advocate position here. I think prior to the guilty plea, had she apologized, she would have opened herself to litigation, right? I think she's open to litigation now anyway. But now that she's pleaded guilty, yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. Music to my ear says, Gavin, loving your interaction with viewers, content discussions, and all the great people here. Well, I'm glad you are. That's what we do around here. Let's see. Ooh, the Charlotte sisters are in the house. Good to see you, Robin Lane. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very grateful for you. And the only Mooney says, I am curious about how they get air in a ping pong ball. I happen to know the answer to that, but do you want to stay curious? I can let you stay curious. I think I probably should. I think I probably should let you stay curious. But I know the answer to that. Do you know why I know the answer to that? I'm not even going to tell you why. Let's see. Fire Rabbit says, I think she will reoffend if she doesn't get serious help with anger management. I'm laughing at the idea of her taking anger management, not laughing at your comment there. Leslie says, Gavin, you are being too kind in regards to Clenney's parents. They have shown that they raised her in their own image. Yeah, the thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I try to extend as much grace as I can, hoping that others will extend grace to me. Like you guys know me as Gavin Fish, the YouTuber. A couple of you, we know each other personally, but depending on what point in my life you met me, you may think I'm the world's worst person. So I try to extend as much grace as I can because I really hope that others will do the same for me. I don't know if I'm being too kind to them. I, I I'm simply wondering what is going on in their heads over all this. Like it's not going to be a thing where like Mrs. Clenney is at a little tea party and they're all in their awesome like giant hats and they're dressed to the nines and they're drinking tea. So my daughter is a doctor. My daughter is a large animal veterinarian. Oh. Well, ladies, you have not heard anything. My daughter is an OnlyFans daughter. It's like, yeah, I wonder I wonder what's happening in the old noggin with the Clenneys. I have no idea. Okay, Mooney is saying, "Tell me." Okay, I will tell you. It's actually more simple than you think. When the two halves of the ping pong ball, this happens with tennis balls as well. But when the two halves of the ball are sealed together, they're sonically welded, and when that happens, they are in a high pressure environment. So when they leave that high pressure environment, the relative pressure to the air outside and the air inside makes it so that it is pressurized in there. That's all it is. You're welcome. See, I'm curious about stuff too, and so yeah, that was one that I wondered when I was a kid. I think I found that out from an encyclopedia of all things. Right? I'm an old man. I'm an old man. Okay. All right. Let us come over to here. I want to show. Let's see if we've got the right video up. I've just got a couple clips that I want to show you. This one's 9 minutes long. This is the actual guilty plea. Now, I've upped the volume a little bit, so check your headphones and check your earbuds. It shouldn't be above 6 dB down. It shouldn't be too hard, but I have compressed it up in order for it to be able to be heard better. Here is the actual clip of the guilty plea. Here we go.
Very good. In preparation for today's proceedings, I have been privy to the agreed upon plea, and I will ratify the agreement of the parties at this time based on the following. This case originated 4 years ago in 2022. Since then, the parties, both the state of Florida and the defense in this case, have engaged in diligent and extensive preparation of the case. That preparation consisted of a thorough investigation that included, but was not limited to, the routine discovery process that is involved in a complex criminal case, as well as literally thousands of pages of legal motions and responses, the consultation of experts.
By the way, you know that squeaking noise that you hear? My guess is that is like the gallery benches going anytime anybody makes the slightest move. I think those benches, I think that there must be a law across the entire land saying, number one, the gallery seating must be super uncomfortable. Number two, the gallery seating must have been manufactured before 1888. And number three, it must be as noisy as possible. I don't know why they don't just put theater seating in there. Maybe every once in a while spritz some WD-40 in there. But when they're made out of hardwood, it just drives me crazy. I love the historic courts. This doesn't look like one, but I love the like sitting in an historic courtroom where you're just like, oh, look at how beautiful it is. And then you sit down on a bench, it's like, and then you make, oh, my shoe's untied. Or, oh, I better silence my cell phone. You're not even moving your tuchus. You're just like reaching into your pocket to grab your phone. It just drives me crazy. But okay, let's continue.
From both sides who opined on various legal issues such as self-defense, battered partner syndrome, and issues regarding manner of death. Based on the investigation of the case and the resulting legal analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of this case from both the state's perspective as well as the defense, and perhaps most importantly, the victim's family's wishes to bring closure to this horrific and life-changing experience, the parties have reached a resolution that this court will not frustrate. The parties have also agreed on a fact.
When she says that this court will not frustrate, basically what she's saying is like, okay, the defense and prosecution can come to an agreement in a plea bargain, but the judge can say, no, I'm not going to do that. Because the judge has the power to do that. When she says the parties have reached an agreement that this court will not frustrate, she's saying, I'm going to go with what you guys want to go with. She's probably just like, please get this out of my courtroom.
Proper as stated by the prosecutor that I will now read into the record. The state of Florida and the defendant agree as to the following factual proffer. A. Christian Obumseli, hereafter the victim, and the defendant began dating in late 2020. Their relationship is defined by the parties as being extremely tempestuous and combative, as both have been involved in numerous domestic violence incidents. B. The victim and the defendant moved to South Florida in January 2022, taking up residence in a condominium located at 1 Paraiso Residences, located in Miami.
She said Paraiso. Let me take a moment. I just need a moment. Wanda, can you help me out with just some music to make it feel okay? It's not Paraiso or Paraiso, but that's okay.
County. There were many complaints made by residents and security staff lodged against the couple during the 3 months that they resided in the complex. As a result, the management company was in the process of evicting the couple. C. On April 3rd, 2022, Miami Police and Miami Fire Rescue responded to their condo after a 911 call was made reporting a stabbing. Officers found the victim with a singular stab wound to the chest. After the incident, the defendant provided a knowingly, intelligent, and voluntarily made statement to the police
Because she's stupid.
confirming that she was responsible for the stab wound. The knife penetrated approximately 8 centimeters into the victim's chest, puncturing the right subclavian artery. The victim was transported to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where he died from his injuries. Madam Clerk, would you please swear in Ms. Clenney?
Yes, Your Honor. Raise your right hand, ma'am.
All
Do you
right,
solemnly
there's
swear upon the
Courtney.
testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can put your hand down. Please state your full name for the record.
Courtney Clenney,
What is your date of birth?
4/29/1996.
How far did you get in school?
I have no GED.
Do you have any history of mental illness?
I was diagnosed with severe PTSD.
Are you currently under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication?
No, Your Honor.
Have you understood everything that was discussed with your attorneys prior to coming to court, as well as what we're doing here in court today?
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand you wish to plead guilty to manslaughter in exchange for the plea that was read into the record a moment ago. Has anyone, including your own attorney, promised you anything other than that?
No.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or coerced you to accept a plea at this time?
No.
Do you understand if you are not a United
By the way, Joel Waldman, he described her. I thought you're going to get in trouble, Joel. But, he described her as haggard. And he's like, look, you sit in jail, you don't get to do any of your self-care regimen. Plus they feed you straight carbs. That's going to happen to you. But yeah, this is not the same. This is not the same look that she typically has, right? As we see her, this is her look. And if Joel is saying that she's like 5'10", 5'11", then Christian Toby, that's a big man. So yeah, I mean, I wonder what he was, 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Here we go.
States citizen, this plea will result in negative immigration consequences such as deportation or removal. Have you spoken to your attorneys about that, and do you still wish to accept this plea knowing that?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand you're waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand you're waiving your right to remain silent and that silence cannot be used against you at trial?
Yes.
Do you understand you're waiving your right to testify?
Yes.
Do you understand you're waiving your right to confront, cross-examine, and present witnesses? Do you understand you're waiving your right to hold the state of Florida to its burden of proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes.
Do you understand you're waiving your right to appeal?
Yes.
The following question does not seem to apply in this case, but I have to ask in every case. Do you understand if the offense to which you are pleading is a sexually violent or sexually motivated offense, or if you've been previously convicted of such an offense, this plea may result in involuntary civil commitment as a sexually violent predator upon the completion of
Interesting that they have to ask that question, even though that's not what this case is about.
sentence?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand if you violate the terms and conditions of your probation, you're facing up to 30 years in the state prison?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you still wish to plead guilty?
I do.
Are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty or you believe this plea is in your best interest? Have you spoken to your attorneys about the plea? Have they answered all of your questions?
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss the plea with your attorneys?
No, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with their services?
I am.
I'd like to talk to you for a moment.
Ooh, that's a good. Are you satisfied with their services? That they want to preempt any any appeal later on, even though she's waiving her rights to an appeal. Koberger waived his rights to an appeal too, and look what he's doing. So, yeah.
about the written plea agreement that I have in my hands. It is 8 pages. And on the bottom left of each page, it says defendant's initials, CC. Are those your initials?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you reviewed every line, every word, every page of this plea agreement with your attorneys?
Yes.
Now turning over to page 6 of 8, it's entitled Defendant's Representation of Effectiveness of Counsel. Is that your signature over the line that says?
The effectiveness of counsel is the thing that so many appeals are made on. So they're like, let's preempt this, and you understand that your counsel has been effective, yes or no? Yes? Okay, good.
And then each of your attorneys has also signed on page 7 and 8, Mr. Prieto, Ms. Laura Puglisi, and Ms. Karamas. Are those your signatures?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, Your Honor.
And finally, certificate of defendant on page 8 of 8. Once again, Courtney Clenney, defendant. Is that your signature on that line?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that even if I do not state orally here on the record that everything contained within this written plea agreement will be made part of the judgment and sentence, even if I don't say it out loud?
Yes.
Mr. Prieto, have you and your team reviewed all items of evidence disclosed by the state with Ms. Clenney?
we have, Your Honor.
Do the state or defense know of any items of physical evidence containing DNA that could exonerate the defendant? State?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
Not by the defense.
Does the defense waive PSI?
We waive PSI, Your Honor.
PSI is pre-sentencing investigation. She's basically going, we can sentence now then?
Do the state and defense stipulate to a factual basis? State?
State stipulates.
Defense?
will stipulate as contained in the plea agreement.
All right. Ms. Clenney, I find the plea has been entered into knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently. That you understand the nature and consequences of the plea. There's a factual basis for the plea, and that you're represented by good and competent counsel with whom you say you're satisfied. At this time, I will be adjudicating you, and I'm going to turn to page 3 of 8, to the charge of manslaughter with a deadly weapon. I'm sentencing you to 6 years in the state prison with all applicable credit for time served, followed by 5 years of reporting probation.
6 years for killing that man by stabbing him in the chest. 6 years. Oh my goodness.
As a condition of that probation, you will complete a mental health evaluation and all required treatment deemed necessary. You will complete a substance abuse evaluation and complete all required
Those are all
treatment deemed
standard.
necessary, as well as completing the batter's intervention program within the first year of probation. As I said, there are some other provisions contained within this written plea agreement that will be made part of the judgment and sentence. I'm assessing court costs and any and all statutory and mandatory fines. You will be fingerprinted. We should have DNA on file. Before we turn it to the victim impact portion, is there anything further on behalf of the state?
So, okay. So there she is. Yep. I did it. Yeah, I had competent counsel. Yeah, I waived my right to the pre-sentencing investigation. Okay, I'm ready to go. Okay, I'll give you 6 years. Because that's what the defense and prosecution agreed to, not because the judge was like, yeah, this is what I would do. Though the judge did have the power to go, nah, 30 years, man. 30 years. But she did not do that. She found Courtney Clenney guilty of manslaughter with a deadly weapon and sentenced her to 6 years plus 5 years probation. And that's what she is charged. That's the cost of Christian Obumseli's life. That's the cost. And it's shocking to me, to say the very least. It is absolutely just shocking. Now, I saw this comment, and it's a good comment. This is an insult to Christian's family, in my opinion, and that's an opinion that I think a lot of us share. However, just respectfully and lovingly, Christian's family signed off on this. They were probably like, we've had enough. Let's just get this over with. We've had enough. But let's let me cue up the victim impact statement here. A member of the family is reading a statement by Christian's mother here, and I will go ahead and get it started.
As I stand here to read my victim impact statement, I first give thanks to the Lord Almighty for his protection and guidance over our family throughout these past 4 years. I also want to thank the attorneys, the state attorney's office, Larry Hanfield, and everyone who helped make sure that Christian's voice and our family's voices were heard. I thank our family and our friends who called, prayed for us, checked on us, and stood beside us through this very, very difficult journey. I am Christian's mother. Words can never fully explain how Christian's death has affected my life and the lives of everyone in our family. There is simply too much pain to put on paper. On April 4th, 2022, while I was at work, I received the call that no parent should ever have to receive. I was asked to give
Listen to this. Oh my goodness. I forgot to even tell you guys this on the background. Oh my goodness. I want you to listen if you don't already know. If you know, you know, and it is coming up. But listen to how Christian's mom heard the news that her son was dead. Okay, I'm going to just back it up. Maybe 10 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that. Listen to this. Just catch this.
While I was at work, I received the call that no parent should ever have to receive. I was asked to give consent for my son's eyes to be donated. I had just talked to him the day before and had no knowledge that he had been killed.
Can you believe that?
That was the darkest day of my life. And the darkness continued to unfold as I learned Christian had been killed by his girlfriend, Courtney Clenney, someone he had trusted and loved. Since April 2022, I have lived with fear,
Look at her
anxiety,
face.
sleepless nights, heartache, and more tears than I could ever count. 4 years later, there are still nights when I cannot sleep. There are moments when my mind goes back to the last moments of Christian's life. As his mother, those thoughts are very difficult for me to carry. There was a joy in my life and in our family's life before Christian died that has never completely returned. His death did not only affect me, however. It affected my entire family, including his older brother, Jeffrey, his cousins who were raised as siblings, and his grandmother who loved him so much and called him her precious. We have all had to.
Yeah, Mooney's question, does the judge have the ability of making her own sentence? Like if she thought it should be longer, could she say like 15 years? Yeah, she could have. She had the power to do that. She didn't.
Learn how to live with the empty place that cannot be filled. But I do not want Christian to be remembered only for how he died. Christian was my son.
Real quick, this is a great answer. Judges have to stay within the sentencing guidelines. Yes, as long as she's within the sentencing guidelines, though, she does have that power. And thanks for that reminder, Elizabeth.
One who knew Christian, who truly knew him, can attest that he was kind-hearted, compassionate, friendly, and respectful. He cared about other people. I remember one day when Christian and I were driving to a store. I stopped and I was going to give a homeless man a few dollars. Christian encouraged me to do much more than that. It was a small moment, but it showed the kind of heart he had. He saw another human being who needed help, and he wanted to make sure that that person had enough. Christian, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that I had the privilege of being your mother. Those are the memories that no one can ever take from us and me. Nothing can erase the pain of the day that I buried my son.
Oh.
Nothing can describe what it feels like for a mother to stand at the grave of her child. There are also the things that will never happen for me now that he's gone. The birthdays, the holidays we will not celebrate with him. The conversations we will never have. the person he would have continued to become, those losses continue much longer after today's court case ends. For more than 4 years, we've lived with the loss every day and waited for accountability. Today closes a legal chapter, but it certainly doesn't close our grief. No sentence, no plea can bring back my son to me. My only hope is to carry his memory forward and to continue healing as a family. My prayer is that after today, Christian will simply not be remembered by the public as a name connected to a criminal case. He was a son, he was a brother, he was a cousin, he was a nephew and a grandson, and he was a friend to a lot of people. He was loved, he had a future, and his life had value and mattered. As a family, we are very private people. We have endured this loss while much of Christian's life and death have been discussed publicly and inaccurately to support a narrative created by Courtney, the person who took my son's life. There are parts of our grief that belong only to us, and I choose to keep those things within our family. But I want this court to understand this much. The loss of Christian did not end on April 4th, 2022. We carry it with us every day. Through everything, I continue to place my faith in God. Christian, Toby, Obumseli, I know you are with the Lord. Onwane Tilora, as your brother called you, which means the moon in the sky that shines for everyone. That is how I choose to remember you, as a light. Your legacy and your memory will remain with us. We miss you. We love you. May you continue to rest in peace, my son.
Thank you for those beautiful words.
That's tough. And I do like how they all got up as a family and stood together and read that statement. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been saying it better than I could say it. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. And I don't know. And I think it's done, right? As long as she minds her P's and Q's, she's out. Now, there will probably be some civil lawsuits, some civil wrangling. But as far as the criminal side of this, it is done. Now, the family held a press conference through their lawyer after all was said and done. This is how Court TV broadcasted. I know that Joel, again from Surviving the Survivor, my friend in front of the show, was there, and he put it up on his Patreon. So if you are a patron of his, go check out his. It's probably better. But yeah, here we go.
Questions? Mr. Hadfield, yes. The state said that nobody is happy with this. What are you most pleased with?
Well, this was a resolution that was agreed to. Her accepting responsibility and in pleading guilty is the first step of accountability. What the family wanted was accountability. And at least today we received that in a public record, in a public courtroom. It takes away all the horrific things that has been stated in the media, trying to undermine and destroy Christian's life. But today, closure comes by virtue of she stood up, pled guilty, and accepted responsibility and took responsibility, acknowledging that she was the one responsible. She caused the death of his, and the stabbing was a result of a criminal act, not an act of self-defense, not an accident, but an act that she did willfully, and today she accepted full responsibility for her actions.
You said step one, since laid the groundwork for civil.
All I can say is that I'm not speaking about any civil matter. I'm speaking only solely about the criminal matter.
Do you think the incident with the state attorneys being one of the top?
It is, by the way. It is the groundwork for a civil matter. He's just like, I'm not talking about that. As a good attorney shouldn't, right? He shouldn't talk about that. But this is definitely going to civil court for sure.
Prosecutors being forced to get out the case. Do you think that whole incident with the laptop issue had a play at going to trial, maybe risking some things? Does that at all connect to what happened here today?
No. Any incident in reference to the laptop had no bearing. Cases.
They had argued over the laptop for years, right? Courtney and her parents getting access to the laptop and maybe, erasing evidence and stuff like that. So that's what they're referring to.
We are resolved by way of plea prior to trial. This was no different than any other case. The most important thing is that the family wanted someone to accept responsibility, and the family saw that today. She is a convicted felon for the rest of her life. She will be, when she gets out of prison, she will be on 5 years probation. The crime for which she pled guilty to and was convicted as a felon, if she violates probation, carries a 30-year prison sentence. And so therefore, no amount of time was going to bring Kristen back. The family was aware of that. But at least this gives them an opportunity to try to bring closure to a very traumatic, life-changing experience. No family should ever have to go through what the Obumseli had to go to. And they learned of his death through a telephone call, someone from Miami requesting to donate his organs. That's the worst call that anybody should ever have to suffer.
Did the family expect to hear from Courtney Clenney today? Did they want to hear from her today?
Well, I don't think there's anything that she could say that can change what happened. I think that she should have at least apologized, but even her apology would not have removed what she did April of 2022.
If she doesn't violate her probation, though, she's out in 2 years. Is that hard to accept?
It is the reality of the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system, when you're dealing with pleas, is give and take. I represent the family. I don't represent the state attorney's office. Based upon wanting this matter to come to a closure, the family was aware of it and allowed for the resolution to take place as it did today.
Is there something that was risky in going?
By the way, the state attorney's office does not have to have permission and blessing from the family. Typically, in the office, they will have some type of victim coordinator, some victim services or something like that, who will be in communication with the victim's family, their attorney, and they will take into consideration. But you and I have both seen cases where the family is completely blindsided by it. They don't want it, but it's happening anyway, because the DA, the state's attorney, whatever state you're in, whichever office that is, they have complete and utter discretion on how to negotiate those pleas.
Trial that could have messed up the state's case and maybe got an acquittal?
Well, I think in every case, there's always a give and take. There's nothing guaranteed. She could have been found guilty. She could have been found guilty of a lesser, such as manslaughter. Under manslaughter with discharge in the state of Florida, the minimum sentence is probation. The maximum would have been 30 years prison. And so therefore, it's very difficult to speculate as relates to what would have happened at trial. We believe that the evidence would have shown, most importantly, that at the time in which Kristen received the knife in his chest, there was no imminent threat of danger as relates to Courtney Clenney.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, this at least bring closure to the family. They want to move on with their life. This has been a nightmare for 4 years. And when we go back to our doing our normal days, they still have to wake up every day with the loss of Kristen Obumseli. And that's something that no family should have to endure. It is very, very tragic. And for a mother to have to bury their own child. So at this point, we now ask that the public allow them to return back to some degree of normality, as difficult as that may be.
Lastly, after 2 years, she'll be out. Is the family okay with potential? She made her career making.
Let me answer this question from Natalie. Would potential civil litigation against her have to wait until she's out of prison, or can it be filed while the person is still in custody? It can be filed at any time.
Right, on social media. Is the family okay with her potentially making money out of what happened to Christian?
Well, the law in Florida is no one convicted of a felony of taking someone's life is allowed to benefit financially for that action. The Attorney General of Florida made that very clear. That is the law in the state of Florida, regardless of what the defense have indicated that they may challenge that law or not. That is the law. It's similar to the Son of Sam's law. Basically, you cannot benefit from your wrongdoing. And so therefore, that is the law. I believe that will be maintained as the law. If there is any enrichment from it, it will go to the victim's family.
Can you talk a little bit about what you had hoped Courtney would have done that day? You said she could have called 911. She could have done a bunch of things she didn't do.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that?
Well, I mean, if at the time of the incident, when she threw the knife or stabbed him, as we believe, in his chest, most caring person, even in the act of passion or the act of emotional trauma, once you realize what you have done, most human beings will try to save the person's life.
You know, thank you very much for this, because you guys know that the case that may be the most top of mind, the one that I'm most known for, is the Ellen Greenberg case. And this has been my position from the beginning there, right? When Sam Goldberg allegedly goes into the apartment, allegedly breaks into the apartment, which I don't think he did, and notices Ellen on the floor, he calls his lawyer, cousin, and uncle. Only then does he call 911. And thank you for putting this so well, Mr. Attorney, for Christian's family. Yeah, a normal person seeing the confusion or seeing the desperation of the victim would go, I need to get help here real fast. Not, I should call somebody first and see what they think I should do. It's crazy.
She was on the phone, as evidenced by their own records. At the time, she was on the phone with her mom. He's bleeding to death on the floor. She continued the conversation. The next call she made was to the security downstairs. The last call was to 911. By the time 911 got there, he was dead.
Do you think if she would have called 911 first, we wouldn't be here today?
I don't know, but I know that would have at least shown human compassion. That would have shown some humanity. I think that...
Let me pause this real quick. Mooney's asking, was there already a civil suit? Someone in the chat thought there was already one complete, so I looked it up real quick. This was written today by Sarah Rumpf Witten on Fox News. Let me bring it up for you guys to see if let's see. The OnlyFans model accused of killing her boyfriend inside a Miami apartment has pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Courtney Clenney, 30, appeared inside Miami courtroom, blah, blah, blah. She'd previously been blah, blah, blah as part of the plea agreement, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I got it. Let's see. Yeah, but why are you burying the lead? Let me just scroll. Okay, months after Clenney's August 2022 arrest, Obumseli's family filed a civil lawsuit against her and several companies connected to the couple's apartment building. The suit accused Clenney of battery and alleged that the condominium, property management, and security defendants failed to provide adequate security despite circumstances the estate claimed made the fatal attack foreseeable. Court records reviewed by Fox News Digital show that Clenney resolved the claims against her well before the criminal plea agreement became public. Oh. On December 3rd, 2025, the estate filed a notice of settlement as to defendant Courtney Clenney only. The claims against Clenney were then voluntarily dismissed with prejudice on March 4th, 2026. So, yes, if they were dismissed with prejudice, that means they can't be brought again. Now, if there are other claims not included in this lawsuit, then they could bring those. But according to this, let's see. So the civil lawsuit continued against the other defendants after Clenney was dismissed. That final order came 10 days before Clenney's attorneys announced on July 31st that she had reached a plea agreement with prosecutors. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. I wonder if there will be another civil suit, though. I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Every reasonable person would agree with that. But to allow a person to bleed to death and then run behind saying you did it in self-defense while they're on the floor dying in your presence, I believe that speaks a whole lot about the character of the person.
And the family believed that his love for her cost him his life.
Absolutely, he predicted it. He indicated in his text, his writings, before that he believed that his love will eventually cause his demise at her hands.
Do they wish he never dated her?
Well, they wished he was alive today. That's what they wish. And they've been robbed of that.
You mentioned injuries he suffered in the past. Also, some mention of the narrative that she painted of abuse by him. Are you suggesting that she was the abuser, far more aggressive than what has been described as?
That's what the independent evidence shows and established. He was cut in the face by her, went to the hospital. He was stabbed in the thigh by her.
Oh.
And then the ultimate final episode was what happened while we're here today, where he was stabbed in the house.
She was Knifey McKnife or something.
Have they said anything to the family? Have they apologized?
No.
In the courtroom, we heard a little bit about who Christian was. So I wanted to ask, how does the family want him to be remembered?
As a loving person, as a person who would give his last, as a very compassionate person, and even his own conduct has shown that when he was attacked before, where he had to go to the hospital being cut, he didn't call law enforcement. He never called the police on her because he loved her. He was blind by that love. And that's why he felt and predicted that it would be love that would take his life. It was in his text. He was texting her.
She was stab.
That were found in his text phone. Thank you all so much.
Okay. So he'd been to the hospital twice before with knife wounds. And so when I heard that he had said that his demise would come at her hands, that their love would be the thing that undid him, I thought that was a little hyperbole. But if he'd been to the hospital twice, once in the face, once for a knife wound to the face, once for a knife wound to the leg, ooh, she was slicey McStab. That's the kind of person that she was. So that's where it sits, guys. Courtney Clenney, she will hang out for a couple of years in prison, and she'll have plenty of commissary. She's got plenty of money, plenty of commissary. She'll just kind of hang out. Maybe she'll get other inmates to brush her hair a little bit. Maybe she'll get some makeup, try to look pretty, and when she gets out, who knows what she'll do. My guess is she'll go back to making millions of dollars off of poor fools that are idiots that will have some sort of like weird kink about killers. Kills me. But that's where we are. Okay? And the whole Son of Sam thing side of it, like, I think she would have to be overtly going, write a book. This is how I did it, or something like that, in order for that to apply. They can't just make it impossible for her to earn a living. But we shall see. We shall see. That's where we are on the story. Now, guys, we've got a little bit more to go. We've got some... What do we got? We got some headlines in the Sandra Birchmore case. We've got the Amy Hilliard case that I can update you on. Another update out of the Alex Murdaugh case. We've got some really good news that it just cleanses the palate. The bitter taste of this case would just stay on the palate without the sweet, moisturizing balm of good news at the end of the show. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, we're going to hop into 3 questions. Here we go.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Hey guys, in this segment, I answer your questions that you email into 3questions@gavinfish.com. I've put the email on your screen for those who are watching in the live or are a rewatcher on YouTube or on Spotify Premium Video. And if you are on Spotify Premium Video, my goodness, does it help the channel immensely that you watch over there. Thank you so much for doing that. But here's the solemn covenant between us. You send in your questions. I don't dodge any of them, but I get to answer them in the order that I see fit, and only 3 at a time. I've got a pretty good list going right now. Pretty good list. All right. Question number 1 comes in from Megan. Megan asks, what makes a true crime case feel important enough for you to cover? Megan, I am so, I guess, I am like honored that you would think that I think about these cases in terms of importance. Here's the deal. And I'm just going to level with you straight up. Okay. I'm not a big enough channel or a big enough personality or a big enough anything to really drive conversation on a case. I am a follower. That is what I am. I watch the zeitgeist. I take a look at what others are talking about, and if other people are consuming that content, then I decide that I'm going to cover that content too. Now, there are a few, I guess, exceptions to that. Well, for last week, I covered Malik Chandler, right? The dad who shot his 11-year-old daughter's essayer. That one, I was just like, we got to talk about this, right? And on my channel, it hasn't been super popular to talk about Lindsay Clancy, but I have covered her case a little bit here and there. I typically am looking to see what's going on in true crime, what other content creators are doing. And I'll tell you the ones that I really love. I love Courtroom Confidential. I love Surviving the Survivor. I love Grizzly True Crime. I love, what is the rest of my list? Hold on. I will just bring it up so I don't forget anybody. But I love The Interview Room, Hidden True Crime, Pascal. I love Duty Ron. I love Melanie Little. I watch Emily D. Baker and Police Off the Cuff and Lawyer You Know. I just look to see what people are watching, and if people are watching it, I do my best to cover it in my way, coming at it from my angle and with my voice. That's what I do. To some success. Speaking of success, guys, okay, look. I don't know what your annual nut is, what it takes for you to pay for your life and the life of those in your care. But YouTube isn't enough for me to do that in my family. And so I have a part-time job that I work in the mornings that I love. It's awesome. I work as a reporter, a local reporter out here in Western Pennsylvania. But I also discovered, hey, people might want to listen to this as a podcast, so I put it up on Spotify, and that's an amazing revenue stream. Then recently, Elizabeth Jones over on Hillbilly Crime, another one that I love, by the way, she taught me what she'd been doing on Facebook, and my goodness, has Facebook just blown up recently. If you are not following me on Facebook, what I'm doing over there is I post about, I don't know, let me bring it up, 12 to 20 true crime stories a day over there. And in the last, over the weekend, I went from, over the course of a month, I went from 3,500 followers to about 17,000 followers, which Elizabeth helped me do just by being consistent and giving, my take on the headlines of the day. Over the weekend, the past 72 hours have been nuts because I posted a video of Kayla Brown being saved, being rescued by first responders when they found her locked and chained up inside of a shipping container on Todd Colehep's property. It's something that I've shared here on YouTube 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. But I shared it on Facebook and boom, it blew up. That video's got almost 30 million views. Almost 30 million. And now we're up to 108,000 followers. And so if you are not following me there, I would love it if you would. Let me just see. We're at 29.9 million views on that video. So yeah, it's working out that as I figure out different parts of my social media presence, maybe I will be able to do this full time after all. Who knows? This could be just a total fluke. It probably is a fluke. I've been at this 6 years, and to have something go viral like that doesn't happen often. But anyway, go follow me on Facebook if Facebook is your thing. All right, question number 2 is from Nikki. What is one case-related topic you wish viewers understood better? Elizabeth and I talked about this on our Friday kind of weekly wrap-up. I wish that everybody understood the power that you have to get records in a case. And that, I understand just letting people do it and then reading I've done that my whole life, pretty much. Open up the newspaper when I was a kid. Oh, you don't say this happened in court today. Not knowing that I could have gone and gotten that information straight from the horse's mouth, and maybe the characterization in the paper isn't quite how I would read it, right? So yeah, I wish that people understood the power that they had to acquire public records. And also, just speaking selfishly on my channel, I wish that I had a few of those people that would volunteer for me. In fact, if that is something that you want to learn how to do, I will teach you how to do it. If you wouldn't mind helping me out from time to time in doing the research, because I just don't have the hours in the day. It would be great to have somebody volunteer to do that. And if you go to my website, which is gavinfish.com, you can, if you're interested in doing that, click on this little button, the little one that looks like an envelope. It'll open up a contact me form, and you can choose, I'd like to volunteer. Give me your name, email address, and I'll have somebody on my team reach out. Or maybe I will reach out. It just, yeah, I love it when people volunteer. So that is what I wish, Nikki. And question number 3, Shelley asks, what makes someone a good interviewer? Well, I can't speak from experience. I don't think I'm a good interviewer. I am a good conversationalist, I think. But am I a good interviewer? I don't think so. What I like to see what I hate to see is interviewers asking questions in order to prompt them to give what they think the answer should be. I don't like that. Um, and I don't like the 60-minute style of somebody answers and goes, "Yeah, I was out till 9 p.m. that night." So you were out till 9 p.m. that night? Yeah, that's literally what I just said. Interesting. I hate that. That kind of stuff just kills me. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Wish that reporters would stop doing that. So somebody who asks questions because they genuinely want to know the answer, I think that makes someone a great interviewer. I've got a buddy named Kenny who is terrific. Like, I used to hire him in order to do videos with my employees because he was so good at getting them to talk about their job. Yeah, good interviewer is really worth their weight in gold. Unless they are morbidly obese, then they're probably more worth their weight in silver. Guys, those are your 3 questions. Now, what I want you to do is answer those questions for yourself. What do you think makes someone a good interviewer? And what topic do you wish viewers understood more in true crime? And what cases do you think I ought to cover? Go ahead and put that in the live chat. And while you're doing that, why don't we go over some headlines? Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Guys, I've just got a couple quick updates for you. This one out of NBC Boston, written by Asher Klein. In the Sandra Birchmore case, the Sandra Birchmore cause of death details at Matthew Farwell trial. Okay, the Massachusetts medical examiner. That is the weirdest headline. Let's try again. The Massachusetts medical examiner who initially ruled Sandra Birchmore's death a suicide is set to explain why she did so and why she recently changed that finding at the upcoming federal trial of a former officer accused of killing her, according to a court document that lays out the prosecution's case in great detail. That document, a trial brief filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office for Massachusetts this week, says the medical examiner will testify she initially ruled Birchmore had died by self-unaliving after asking for investigative updates, and that she hadn't been told this death was a potential homicide or a suspicious case. So the reason I bring this up is this is one of those things that defense attorneys just absolutely love. Why would you change your mind? Why would this expert change their mind? I think that's pretty weak reason to change one's mind. However, I also know from my other buddy, Kenny, I mean, how many buddies Kenny can one guy have? I got 2. My other buddy, Kenny, who is a forensic pathologist and former medical examiner, I know that the investigation into a decedent's cause and manner is way more about the scene than it is about the body. So maybe that will save the medical examiner's testimony, but I think defense attorneys will go after her aggressively. Turning to Amy Hilliard, this written by Tim Fang for CBS News San Francisco. More than 4 months after Oakland coffee shop owner Amy Hilliard was reported missing, volunteers searched for her at a park in the Oakland Hills over the weekend. On Sunday, about 40 volunteers searched the trails at Redwood Regional Park for Hilliard, who was last seen on March 25th. Steve Fisher, a search and rescue specialist, said they were looking at the park because it was one of her favorite spots. Quote, "One thing that we know from the investigation is that this area was very, very important to Amy. She loved hiking here. She loved it on a spiritual level, and so we do believe this is an area she likely came to, but it's a massive area," close quote. Chris Hilliard, Amy's husband, said he and his children are holding on to hope. The couple owns Farley's East Coffee Shop in downtown Oakland and Farley's, a coffee shop in San Francisco's Potrero Hill neighborhood. And then anyone who may have information on her whereabouts is asked to contact the Missing Persons Unit of the Oakland Police Department at 510-238-3641. There is a $25,000 reward that has been offered for information leading to her safe return. So we continue to pray that Amy Hilliard will be found safe. And finally, tonight in our headlines, guys, this written by Lauren Silver for Court TV. I found it on yahoo.com. Headline: Alex Murdaugh should walk free after SLED agent presented fabricated physical evidence, according to Emotion. Okay, attorneys for Alex Murdaugh claim the lead agent in his case lied to the grand jury and have asked a judge to dismiss the indictments. Alex Murdaugh, 58, was sentenced to 2 life terms after a jury convicted him of murder in the deaths of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. The South Carolina Supreme Court overturned those convictions and his sentence after finding that inappropriate comments from the clerk of court had tainted the jury. As he prepares for his second trial, Murdaugh's attorneys filed a motion seeking to dismiss the indictments on Monday, alleging that the lead case agent for the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, quote, testified that he presented physical evidence directly inculpating the defendant to the Colleton County Grand Jury that he had admitted was false and which the defendant has proven was fabricated. Had a sneeze-a-roo there. And which the defendant has proven was fabricated by law enforcement, close quote. The filing included no further details, but said more information would follow in a supporting memorandum. This, I think, is just more throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. But they're moving to have his conviction completely, or his indictment completely thrown out, saying that there was police misconduct. And if there was, guys, that is the worst. I don't know if there was. And I remember back during the Stephen Stearns case, how compelling I thought that the defense's arguments were about police misconduct. Of course, the judge did not buy those arguments as well as I did. So you never know what's going to happen. I think in this case, again, it's just seeing if it'll stick. It probably won't stick. And guys, those are headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okay, before we do our good news of the day, in order to cleanse the old palate, let's look at your comments over here. Knifey McKniferson, I'll have to remember that one. Coffee Time for D says, this killer, in my opinion, is horrible. She called him the N-word. She is trash, and I hope the world forgets her. Pearl Snaps, Gavin, curly hair isn't supposed to be brushed. Not nice. Okay. What do I know about curly hair? Gavin, followed by Slicey McStab. You're on a roll. Yeah. Dietitian says, I love police off the cuff. I do too. Mooney says, I would love to volunteer to get records, but I need instruction. Well, Mooney, you and I are connected in Slack. We could do that. We could do that. No problem. Just Ducky says, do you know how difficult to get police body cam footage in Pennsylvania? Yeah, in Pennsylvania, extremely difficult. It is considered investigative material. And because the right to know law in Pennsylvania is crap, other than that, I have no opinion. The right to know law in Pennsylvania is, in my estimation, the worst law in the nation when it comes to public information. It claims that people have the right to know, but it does not give them the right to know. So in Pennsylvania, police body cam footage is almost impossible to get, even after multiple lawsuits. Yeah. In other states, it's really easy. Really easy. Florida, Utah, Idaho, Minnesota, Mississippi, almost everywhere else. It's way, way, way easier. Leslie says, ooh, teach me. I'd love to know how to snoop around in other people's biz. Yep. Reach out to my contact page. Elizabeth McMaster says, Gavin, answer to number 3 is to ask follow-up questions. So frustrating when reporters do not follow up, i.e. Hoda in the Savannah Guthrie interview softball piece. I agree. Gluten-free says, we definitely brush curly hair, just not when dry. I see. The Only Mooney says, I only brush my hair in the shower, only when wet with conditioner. I've learned so much today, guys. I've learned so much. Thank you for teaching me that. Now, lest you think that we're just going to go away. No, my palate needs cleansing. So come with me for the, Wanda, I almost just hopped into it. But we need some transition music into good news. Wanda, can you take care of it for us? Oh, Wanda's. That I've always wanted to do a rock and roll scream. I love this one, Wanda. Wanda on a roll. Wanda, she's got the arms of the Hydra, guys, playing all those instruments. And is that your nephew, your son-in-law? That's her son-in-law singing today. So good. That already got us transitioned into a good place. All right, here we go. Check this out, guys. Wendy's employee gets into Yale after bosses helped him go to community college. Way to go, bosses. This by Brian Anthony Hernandez. I think this was on People. I think. Yes. Okay. One fast food employee is taking Wendy's old "Do What Tastes Right" slogan to heart, and what tastes right for him is going to Yale University. Tales winner D'Souza, who started working at a Wendy's in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, in high school, before being promoted to a shift manager during his senior year, recently shared his remarkable journey from surviving a shooting in Brazil to being accepted into Yale and the role the fast food chain played. In a July 28th Facebook post, the 23-year-old revealed how his bosses at his local Wendy's helped him earn his way into the Ivy League school, writing, quote, 4 years ago, while I was working as a manager at Wendy's and finishing high school, Mr. Usama El Saraway, probably in this picture, and the late Mr. Ernest Smiley. Oh, what a great name. Ernest Smiley? That's a great name. Awarded me a scholarship to attend Cape Cod Community College. D'Souza continued, at the time, I had no idea how much that opportunity would change my life. Today, 4 years later, I had the chance to thank El Saraway and Ernest's son Terry Smiley in person and share where that investment has taken me. He added, this fall, I'll be headed to Yale University. That's rad. Okay. According to D'Souza, what has always stood out to me is not what they built as business owners, it's the way they invest in people. Thank you for believing in me. Your generosity opened a door that changed my life, and I will always be grateful. Sometimes all it takes is one person who believes in you. I'm living proof of that, he concluded the Facebook post. In May, when he found out that Yale had accepted him, D'Souza revealed that he moved to the United States after surviving a shooting in Brazil. Quote, in 2016, after nearly being killed by a shooting inside my own home while I was sleeping, my mother decided to drop everything and come to the United States, he wrote in the caption of an Instagram video showing the moment he received his Yale acceptance letter. D'Souza will begin classes at Yale in the fall after having completed 3 years at Cape Cod Community College and 1 year at Bunker Hill Community College, according to Today.com. I'll be majoring in political science and my minor will be human rights, D'Souza told the outlet, but everything will be on the pre-law track because I want to go to law school. That's the plan, he added. So good on those Wendy's franchise owners for investing in that young man, and it proves the Mr. Rogersism that I am always reminded of when I'm feeling down on humanity, that all you have to do is look for the helpers, and these two gentlemen right here are the helpers, and that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. You know what else is beautiful? The fact that you just spent the last 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 9 seconds with me. Thank you so much for doing that. I live stream every Monday through Friday here on YouTube. I then upload to Spotify Premium Video, and it goes out as a podcast throughout the Fruited Plain, nay, across this beautiful blue planet of ours. Wherever you watch or listen, thank you for doing that. Please check me out on my website, gavinfish.com, or check me out on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and search Gavin Fish. You'll find one that it says crime reporter and commentator. That is me. And of course, you can always join the fish tank. There are links in the description below. With that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.